Greetings everyone, I am glad to have your attention. My name is RedMaize and this is part 3 of 3 upcoming games that you may not have heard of. Each of these games are from the Steam Next Fest 2023, and if you haven't seen my previous 2 impressions for other demos, the links to those videos will be in the description. I've been pretty amazed so far from what I've played, though some, not so much, but that's okay. Your opinions will vary from mine, even for the next 3 we are about to experience. With that out of the way, let's get this started and allow me to show you 3 even more upcoming games that you may not have heard of. For our first demo, we have Eternites. And already first impressions, it essentially feels like a hack and slash Persona game on a smaller budget, which is kind of weird because when it was first revealed, it had a section dedicated to it during one of Sony's State of Play streams and showcases, which is weird because it does feel like less budget was given to this game and it's been given a spotlight during State of Play, which kind of confuses me in that regard. But in any case, it lacks a little character despite how much character is being presented. I will explain a bit further as I go along. And combat sort of feels like a side gig, but it still had some time dedicated to it. Story seems a bit typical, but intriguing nonetheless. There's enough unanswered questions during this demo for there to be a pretty genuine curiosity on what's gonna happen in this world. And it seems like the whole world seems to be involved as well, not just dedicated to just the city. Would we travel the entire world? I would probably guess not, despite the entire world being involved, but who knows, we will see. But it could be a bit predictable, considering all the tropes that it pulls. But hey, we never know. This is just a demo, just a taste of what's to come, so that could change as we go along. Animation is both stellar and questionable at times. On one hand, you have full-fledged 2D anime cutscenes and incredibly expressive characters both in face and body during 3D cutscenes. But then on the other hand, those very same 3D cutscenes have very puppet-esque mouth movements, sometimes no voice acting during some very crucial moments. And in each of these cutscenes, there's a strange stiffness to it all, which doesn't feel right. Anime characters seem very cliche. MC, which is you, is just some hopelessly single dude doing single dude things. Your perverted best friend to the MC, because of course, gotta have one of those, right? Especially nowadays. And mature, level-headed companion who just can't deal with the 2 perverts, that is you and the best bro. Like, it's very cliche. You see these characters basically anywhere you go. I do have to point out one thing in this demo, and it's hopefully it's not in the final game as well, but this subway section is way too dark. Holy crap, I cannot see a dang thing in these unnecessarily dark halls. You can't even make out the outlining of objects that can block you. Give the MC a flashlight or something. Jeepers, like everywhere you go, there's gonna be something glowing, which adds to the more strangeness of this weird darkness in this subway section. It's like, I know that power has gone down, but at least there would be some power to see in basic hallways. Like, why? Like, light up the place a little bit. And combat is pretty fun, although it's pretty mindless. It's just mash X for an easy combo. Not that very hard. And then you press the right button or R1 for an ender. There's also a time slow dodge, which doesn't seem to have a cooldown from what I can tell. So you can sort of just spam it, making it sort of trivial. And there seems to be like an element system, would presume the weaknesses and strengths during combat, which is a nice touch. And during all this, there's also QTEs or quick time events in both combats and also in cutscenes, strangely enough. So overall, I was initially disappointed with the very stock-esque sound effects, the sort of weird pacing, and it is a demo after all. Can't criticize that a little too much. And the date HUD, why does it not go away? Like, I literally wish this date HUD just goes away in this top right corner, but it just stays there, and it's pretty darn annoying, honestly. But I mean, as the demo went on, I was slowly enjoying it more and more, with the highly animated characters, despite being cliche, and the intriguing taste of the story that we get in this demo. And even though the combat is a bit basic, the loop itself is pretty fun to just play around in. Color me interested.
The end only comes you say stop. Time to wake up, little wanderer. It's time to wake up.
Next we have here Lunar Abyss, and right off the bat, as you can see here in the footage, the lighting in this is absolutely bonkers. All the red and later blue lights illuminate this dark world of concrete and metal, and when you get to make out the details of the landscape in this darkness, it truly pops out and it looks amazing. And on that same note, the sheer scale of this world is humongous as well. It's not necessarily a lot to traverse despite that, though you will be doing some platforming and running, but getting through the place really shows how tiny you are compared to the rest of the world. And you'll see with some moments where these huge mechanical and concrete things in the distance move and just stick out in the environment. It's amazing, honestly. On the other hand, and as you can definitely see, it's so dark. Like, we were talking about it with the subway section back with Eternites, but at least with here, it's mainly to let the red and blue lights pop out more and illuminate where you need to step, so it is more forgivable in this case. But even then, it's like, I wish it would at least brighten up just a little bit, because sometimes it's a bit too hard to see where you're going if not for the lights and colors to guide your way, per se. I mean, it's also why those two colors are very prominent, and it really helps for those colors to stick out. So that's fine, honestly. Enemy and character design is pretty cool, with a mix of like supernatural abominations and mechanical plating and weaponry. Their attacks are bright and clear to see with their multiple big projectiles, and characters, and you will meet some characters in this game and demo. They do have some very unique features about them and very interesting qualities to their features. Now, gunplay is pretty basic and it's a bit too easy. I'll elaborate a bit further on that. First off, your scout gun, it's your typical fast firing low damage gun, and the gun that you get later in the demo is the shield breaker, which is your slow firing high damage gun with the extra benefit of breaking shields, hence the name. Both guns sound meaty and they are very fun to fire, and you have a right click lock on with no sort of penalty for using it, which kind of trivializes encounters, but it does allow you to focus on dodging the numerous bullets being fired at you in a fight. And I imagine this is going to get more crazier and you're going to appreciate the right click lock on more when we get to like really big bosses, and like the number of projectiles on screen is gonna like quadruple in amount. You just get these humongous amounts of projectiles coming at you at one time, hence why this game is listed as a bullet hell. So overall opinions, I can't imagine how much more crazy this game would look when it's finished, and on a much beefier rig compared to my own. My poor PC is such a potato. If it already looks this good on my potato, then this is gonna look incredible with something way more powerful than mine. Fights are too easy, but it is bound to ramp up on full release, as I mentioned earlier. And the amazing lighting and awesome scale of the world are two of the big reasons to experience this game and demo. For our final demo, we have here Reverse Collapse Codename Bakery. It's a very interesting name, that's for sure. Not sure about the bakery part, but I'm sure that's explained a bit later in the story. First impressions, it feels very reminiscent of Arknights. At least the vibe, aesthetic, visual design, HUD, and probably maybe a few more things. Very much reminds me of Arknights, but minus obviously the cat boys and gals, the way more advanced weaponry, and the whole superpower thing going on. It's not a bad thing, it's just me reminiscent about old gacha games that I used to play. The art style is fantastic, from the chibis that are on the map, to the portrait art for each character, to the brief moments of animated cutscenes. It's superb, and I dig it, just like Arknights. While the game throws you into the world and expects you to catch on with its story, it provides some entries for you to read up upon if you want to learn more about these specific organizations and keywords, which is entirely optional, mind you, if you would like more context for these specific things. Unlike a previous demo that I've looked at, that previous demo just throws you into the world, no context whatsoever, in the middle of it, and you're expected to understand this bunch of jargon that they're spouting out in their game, which doesn't add to the story, mind you, and just leaves you more confused. With this game, with this demo, it's sort of doing the same thing, but at the very least you're given context, optional context, for you to read up on, and so you can get invested into the story further. But even when it is sort of in the middle of its story that it's telling, you can still pick up on where it's going on, because it's not terribly hard. You kind of understand the objective straight off the bat, but it's pretty easy to catch on, and the story expects you to catch on, which is good. It means they know what they're talking about, knows what sort of clues that they want to talk about as well. It doesn't seem to be doing anything new or noteworthy, at least going off my semi-limited tactical RPG knowledge, other than maybe providing like lots of different forms of cover with unique effects and stuff, such as like houses serving as like a healing point for your units if need be, but also as cover for your units to use to cover against gunfire, and maybe also units having special abilities or passives like increased evasion when enemies get it too close, or having like a self-reviving mechanic at their disposal whenever they take lethal damage. I don't think at least going off the tactical RPGs that I'm familiar with, I think they're in those other games as well, and it's nothing too special, but I can't say for sure. My knowledge isn't that vast for this genre. Overall, I'm digging the art style and maybe even bits and pieces of the story that it's telling. While it's nothing new, I'm not against anything where it's playing it safe with the core combat of the game. Color me interested, but I'm not entirely sold just yet, and I will probably change my opinion as I continue to play more of the demo. And that's yet another batch of demos all done and dusted. We're almost at the end with the final batch of demos, and it's been super fun to check out these indie titles. Again, some I very much like and some I very much don't like. But my experience will certainly be different from yours, so please do check out these demos for yourself if you are interested. With that said, my name is RedMaize and I'm glad I got your attention. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay healthy, and take care.